Trump has based what his defense is in this case, much of it around the idea that, in his view, E. Jean Carroll is not his type. Putting aside, obviously, the fact that rape and sexual assault is about power, not necessarily attraction. That claim seemed to be undermined by himself during the deposition.
Yeah, there's this moment in the deposition where Trump is being shown a photo of him and his then wife, Ivana Trump, at some gala with E. Jean Carroll and her then husband, John Johnson. So Trump is looking at this black and white photo, which we have seen before, and he's, being presented like this is E. Jean Carroll back at the time period. This was just a few years before the alleged assault. So he's being shown this photo. Take a listen to his reaction to it.
I don't even know who the woman, let's see, I don't know who, it's Marla.
You say Marla's in this photo?
That's Marla, yeah, that's my wife.
Which woman are you pointing to? No.
Here.
Carol.
Oh, is that,
The person you just pointed to was
I
E. Jean
see.
Carroll.
Who is that? Who is this?
And the woman on the right is your then wife,
I don't know,
Ivana?
this was the picture. I assume that's John Johnson, is that
That's Carol.
Because it's very blurry.
Now, Jake, as you see there that Trump is confusing E. Jean Carroll from the early 90s with his second wife, Marla Maples. And later in the deposition, he is asked by Carroll's attorney, are all of your wives your type? And Trump says yes, that they are. So this is something that Carroll's team wants to use to undercut his argument that she wasn't his type and that that statement was a lie, which goes toward one of the defamation claims in this case. It's interesting because Trump, as you said, has waived his right to testify. He has not attended any of the civil trial and he's not required to. But this will be the only words that the jury will see, the words and Trump's reaction to the questions as they consider this case, and they could get it as early as Tuesday. Jake?
Yeah, and the jury will also see, of course, that the photograph is not blurry at all. Kara Scannell, thank you so much. Here to break down what we learned from the Trump deposition tapes are two former federal prosecutors, Renato Mariotti and Jennifer Rogers, who's also a CNN legal analyst. Jennifer, let me start with you. So let's start with where Kara just dropped it. Trump has said he couldn't possibly have sexually assaulted E. Jean Carroll because, and I'm quoting him now, she's not my type. And yet here we have him mistaking a picture of E. Jean Carroll with his ex-wife, Marla Maples, who obviously is his type.
Yeah, it's a huge blunder on his part. I mean, listen, of course, as you mentioned before, Jake, rape is not really about sexual attraction. It's about power and domination and control. But even assuming for a second that's his defense, you might expect his defense to be, of course, I didn't do it. But secondarily, you might expect someone in the scenario to say, she's not my type, but instead something along the lines of, I would never do this. My character is too good. Let me bring forward dozens of witnesses to tell you about how this is not the sort of thing I would ever do. He can't do that here. Why? Because that is not his character. He couldn't find any witnesses to say that. And in fact, quite the opposite. There would be then dozens of witnesses on the other side to testify to the contrary. So he's left with this ridiculous defense of, gee, I don't really find her attractive. And now that's not even really available to him either because he's mucked it up with this photo.
And Renato, the jury did hear from E. Jean Carroll and another woman who accused him of sexual assault. Trump's lawyers presented no witnesses of their own. What do you make of this strategy?
Well, you can see why, right, Jake, after watching some of these clips, why they might not want him on the stand. But it comes at a very serious risk. Jennifer just mentioned a moment ago, and I think she's right, that the defense you'd expect from a defendant here would be I would never do this. This is awful. I'm just so outraged and concerned that I am being accused of committing a very serious violent crime. But instead, I think by not only is he not appearing to testify in person, which means the jury's really never going to have any sort of emotional connection there with him, but and be able to really assess that. But he's not there during the proceedings, and really, I think, is giving the jury the impression that he's not taking this seriously. And so, unless they totally disbelieve everything Carroll has said and the other witnesses, I think that really Trump and his team are putting themselves in a position to lose this case.
All right, let me get back to one of the most shocking quotes from his deposition. Trump is heard on the Access Hollywood tape back from 2005, 2006, bragging about how if you're a star, you can grab women by their genitals, whether they want it or not. During the deposition, he was asked about it. He said that stars can do that. And then he says, unfortunately, or fortunately, I mean, doesn't that lend credence to the idea that he thinks that Sometimes it's a good thing that stars can get away with grabbing women by their genitals, whether they want them or not.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't know how-
Sorry, Jennifer, if you could go. Sorry, Jennifer.
Yeah, this is another missed opportunity for him. If I'm Trump's lawyer, I'm telling him to keep going with this, locker room defense. It was just talk. I really don't mean it. That's a terrible thing. Instead, he doubles down and says, yeah, sure, stars can do whatever they want, for a million years now. So, he is a terrible witness. That's why we'll never see him on the stand voluntarily. But even these clips demonstrate how he doesn't listen to his lawyers. And to the extent he has any sort of hope of appearing to have a decent shot at undercutting E. Jean Carroll's case, he just flubs it every time.
And Renato, unlike in a criminal case, this is a civil matter. So E. Jean Carroll just needs to succeed and prevail by a preponderance of the evidence. It does not have to be beyond all reasonable doubt. That's something important for people to remember here. The standard is lower for a civil case.
That's right. She only has to prove by essentially 51% of the evidence. And of course, the evidence is all on her side of the ledger here. Is really going to be a lot of argument, I would say, on the defense side. I do think that she has put herself in a position to potentially get a verdict in her favor, which is really something because there were challenges in her case. Obviously, this happened long ago. There's no physical evidence. So definitely some challenges there. And I think Trump's team and his own decisions, including some of the very problematic, disturbing testimony we just heard, I think contributes to that.
Yeah, not a slam dunk by any means, and who knows what's going to happen, but seems like Mr. Trump helped her a lot today.